Welcome to my family history case study. Hi, my name is Annette Kerr and I'm a genealogist and family historian at Annette Kerr Genealogy. I live in the Forth Valley area in central Scotland with my husband and our twin daughters who are both studying at Edinburgh University. I have a postgraduate certificate in genealogical, paleographic and heraldic studies from Strathclyde University, where I am currently working towards my postgrad diploma on a part-time basis. My speciality is Scottish genealogy. I have been researching my own family tree for over 20 years. I also enjoy researching Scottish local history and house histories, as well as exploring my DNA and learning more about genetic genealogy. Today I'm going to share with you some family history research I did a couple of years ago as part of a migration study. Today I'm going to talk about the Capaldi family history, the story of their migration from Italy to Glasgow, Scotland. The story starts with Sabato or Sabatino Capaldi, who was born and baptised on Saturday the 18th of May 1839 in San Giuseppe, Picanisco, Frosinone, Lazio, Italy. His parents were Giuseppe Filippo Capaldi and Maria Giuseppa Boni. This is an extract from his birth record. Sabato Capaldi married Nicolina or Nellie Facenda on Tuesday, 12th of February 1878 in San Giuseppe, Picanisco, when he was 39 years old. Here is a picturesque view of Val di Camino from Picanisco, which is 75 miles east of Rome. Here you can see on the map that Picanisco is midway between Rome and Naples. The next person we are going to look at is the son of Sabato and Nellie Capaldi. Giovanni Battista Capaldi was baptised on the 11th of July 1885 in Picanisco. He was the 10th child of 12. Giovanni Capaldi left his beautiful Italian village Picanisco at the turn of the century. At some point between 1902 and 1909, he boarded a ship bound for New York City, United States of America. His journey to the United States was reported in the Daily Mail newspaper on the 23rd of August 2014 in an article about his grandson, Peter Capaldi. I'll tell you more about this later. For whatever reason, Giovanni didn't stay in the United States. He decided to travel to Scotland. On the 18th of October 1910, he arrived in Glasgow on the Farnesia from New York. Here is an extract of the Farnesia's passenger list. You can see that Giovanni Capaldi is listed as an Italian labourer and third-class passenger. This is a photograph of the actual Farnesia ship, which was a steamship belonging to the Anchor Line. We next find Giovanni Capaldi listed in the 1911 census as a boarder at 15B Hill Street in Glasgow. Hill Street is located in Garnet Hill, central Glasgow, and a number 15 is still there today. Garnet Hill forms part of the Glasgow Central Conservation Area. It is bordered by Sauchiehall Street with Blythswood to the south and Dundas Vale Cowcaddens to the north. The famous Glasgow landmark, the Glasgow School of Art, is close by, as is the Glasgow Film Theatre. As Giovanni is listed as a boarder, we know that he is paying for bed and board, meaning his rent includes meals. This differentiates from people who are listed in the census records as lodgers only pay for a room. Meals aren't normally included. At some point between 1911 and 1913, Giovanni has moved to East Wellington Street, Glasgow, lodging with a Mrs. Dugan at number 256. During this period, Giovanni becomes an ice cream merchant at 172 Westmuir Street in Glasgow. Both of these streets are in Parkhead in the Glasgow's East End, and it's less than a 5-minute walk between the two addresses. How did I know about these two addresses? Well, I came across some disturbing news articles. Here is a news article from the Edinburgh Evening News on the 27th of January 1913. It is titled, "A Love-Stricken Italian." It reads, "A young man of Italian parentage named Giovanni Capaldi was admitted to the Royal Infirmary, Glasgow, on Saturday evening, suffering from a bullet wound." According to the police report, Capaldi, who has an ice cream shop at 172 Westmuir Street, had asked a girl to marry him, and as she refused, he remarked to someone that he could not live without her. He returned to his lodgings, where he was shortly afterwards found with a bullet wound to his left side. He was taken in a St Andrews ambulance wagon to the Royal Infirmary. His condition last night was reported to be satisfactory. This is an old picture of the Glasgow Royal Infirmary, which still operates as a hospital today, albeit there have been extensions to the original Victorian hospital over the decades. However, most of the original building is still in use. A horse-drawn ambulance wagon from the late 1800s, this looks to be the design of the St Andrews Ambulance Association. It was designed to carry 2 stretchers. In Glasgow, the city's ambulance services were likely still dominated by horse-drawn vehicles in 1913, especially given the logistical and financial challenges of adopting motorised transport. The shift to motor vehicles accelerated during and after World War I, as the need for faster and more efficient medical transport became more urgent. Lover is rejected by landlady's daughter and shoots himself with revolver. This newspaper article in the Dundee Courier gives a bit more context to the situation. It reads, "A young Italian is lying in the Royal Infirmary, Glasgow, suffering from a revolver shot in the breast, which the police state was self-inflicted in consequences of a love affair. The injured man is named Giovanni Capaldi, 27, an ice cream merchant at 172 Westmuir Street. For some time past, Capaldi had lodged with Mrs. Dugan at 256 East Wellington Street, where the attractions of the landlady's daughter seemed to have set aflame the heart of the Italian. Unfortunately for the lodger, his suit was not too well received, and on Saturday night Capaldi solemnly informed the mother that if her daughter could live without him, he could not live without the daughter. Some time later, a shot was heard and Capaldi was found suffering from a wound in the left breast. The motor ambulance wagon was secured and the Italian was conveyed to the Royal Infirmary. The bullet has not yet been extracted, as it has lodged underneath the heart." The incident appears to have brought the young couple closer, as it was just weeks later, on the 20th of February 1913, that the couple marry by declaration in the presence of witnesses at 8 East John Street, Glasgow. Giovanni now goes by the name of John. It was common practice for immigrants to change their name to better fit in with the community, and John was a common name in Scotland at the time. John is listed as a 27-year-old confectioner, and his bride, Agnes Dugan, is a confectioner's assistant, aged just 16 years old. Their witnesses are John Gilmore, a steel moulder, and Julia Capaldi, a confectioner's assistant. They received a warrant of the Sheriff's Substitute of Lanarkshire that same day. Irregular marriage. Marriage by declaration was deemed an irregular marriage, which, while not illegal at the time, was frowned upon by the Church. Until the mid-20th century, most people in Scotland were married by a minister in a regular marriage. This involved banns being read on 3 consecutive Sundays at the parish church. However, a minority were wed by irregular marriage, in which a man and a woman made a declaration in front of 2 witnesses, hence the other name marriage by declaration. By showing proofs of their marriage, the parties could obtain a warrant of a sheriff or sheriff substitute to have the marriage registered by the local registrar. Churches disagreed with these marriages in principle, but accepted them for fear that couples would otherwise live in sin. And this has come from the Scotland's People website. As shown in the table here, the couple go on to have 5 children during the ensuing 14-year period. Tragically, their firstborn and only daughter, Nicolina, was born in 1913 but dies in infancy in 1914. She dies of gastroenteritis and convulsions at just 4 months old, when Agnes would have been in her early pregnancy with her second child, Joseph. Joseph Edward Capaldi was born in Old Kilpatrick, Dumbartonshire in 1914. Agostino Capaldi, known as Gus, was born in Glasgow in 1916. Peter Dugan Capaldi was born in Newcastle upon Tyne, Northumberland, England in 1920. And last but not least, Gerald Joan Capaldi was born in Lanchester in Durham, England in 1927. The family moved to Newcastle upon Tyne, Northumberland, England between 1917 and 1921. In 1920, Peter Dugan Capaldi was born in Newcastle. The following year is the 1921 census, and the family are living at 191 Scotswood Road in Newcastle. The 1921 census. In the 1921 census, we find the Capaldi family living at 191 Scotswood Road, Newcastle. We see that Giovanni, or John, is noted as a 36-year-old ice cream manufacturer and employer at J. Capaldi Ice Cream. Their household comprises the couple, their 3 sons, John's mother-in-law and ex-landlady Isabella Dugan, brother-in-law James Dugan, and a 16-year-old female servant. Lanchester, Durham, England. At some point between 1921 and 1927, the Capaldi family have moved from Newcastle to Lanchester in Durham. The couple's youngest son, Gerald John Capaldi, was born in Lanchester, Durham, England in 1927. Return to Glasgow. At some point between 1927 and 1946, the Capaldi family moved back to Glasgow. They are living at 478 Keppoch Hill Road in Springburn, Glasgow in 1946. The death of Giovanni Capaldi. On the 21st of May 1946, Giovanni Battista Capaldi, otherwise known as John, dies in Glasgow's Royal Infirmary, aged 60 years old. The cause of death was an appendix abscess, peritonitis and chronic bronchitis. His usual address is listed as 478 Keppoch Hill Road in Glasgow. Burial and epitaph. John Capaldi was buried at Dalbeth Cemetery. His epitaph reads, "In loving memory of my dear husband, Giovanni Capaldi, who died 21st of May, 1946, aged 61 years. His wife Agnes Capaldi, who died 31st of March, 1974, aged 77 years. Also their beloved son Gus, who died 14th of May, 1996, aged 79 years. In loving memory of my dear husband, our dear dad and papa, Gus Capaldi, Love and miss you always. Capaldi descendants in Scotland. The Capaldi family remained in the Glasgow area throughout the 20th century, operating a successful ice cream business. Here is a descendant chart for Giovanni and Agnes. You might notice two famous names on this chart. Giovanni and Agnes have two exceptionally talented and successful descendants in their family tree. Actor, writer and musician Peter Capaldi and singer-songwriter Lewis Capaldi. Lewis and Peter Capaldi are first cousins twice removed. Lewis Capaldi's grandfather is Peter Capaldi's cousin. Peter Dugan Capaldi. Peter Capaldi is famous for playing Malcolm Tucker in The Thick of It, as well as being the 12th incarnation of the Doctor in the Doctor Who programme. He is Giovanni and Agnes's grandson, with his father being their youngest son, Gerald John Capaldi. Peter grew up in Springburn, Glasgow, where his parents ran a thriving ice cream business. In 2011, Peter said in an interview, "We had a cafe that was at the bottom of the tenement that we lived in." He says, "My childhood growing up in that part of Glasgow always sounds like some kind of sub-Catherine Cookson novel of earthy working-class immigrant life, which to some extent it was, but it wasn't really as colourful as that." Peter Capaldi's pedigree chart. Here is Peter Capaldi's pedigree chart, showing his lineage back 3 generations to Sabato Capaldi and Nicolina Vicenda. Lewis Mark Capaldi. Singer-songwriter Lewis Capaldi was born in Glasgow, but he moved with his family to Bathgate in West Lothian when he was just 4 years old. Lewis is the 2 times great-grandson of Giovanni and Agnes Capaldi, descending from their son Agostino, or Gus as he was known. Breaking with the family tradition, Lewis's father Mark is not in the ice cream business, but rather as a fishmonger. This is Lewis Capaldi's pedigree chart, showing his lineage back 4 generations to Giovanni Capaldi and Agnes Dugan. And that concludes my Capaldi family history. I hope you enjoyed it. Would you like me to research your family history? Get in touch via email at annette@annettecaregenealogy.com or comment "Yes please" on this post. Follow me for more family history and house history stories.